first signal came at midnight ship time. A lonely beep on a tired screen. A junior watch officer looked up, rubbed his eyes, and frowned. The line on the scanner was thin, like a hair on glass. It did not match any known pattern. It moved with calm speed. It did not drift. It did not wobble. It came straight. He called his captain. The captain called the admiral. Within minutes, the war room on the alien frontier station woke up like a struck hive. Lights brightened. Voices rose. Doors opened and shut as officers ran to their posts. The watch officer just stood there, hands cold, and watched the thin line grow thicker and closer. He felt small in that bright room. He felt like a child watching a dark wave crawl up the beach. They had heard stories. Everyone had heard them. A month ago, a pirate clan raided a human convoy and vanished without a trace. 2 weeks ago, a border garrison stopped sending messages after a training accident. Last week, 3 listening posts went dark in a single night. No wreckage, no distress calls, only silence. At first, the Empire laughed. Then it frowned. Then it started to whisper one word in the halls. Humans. The admiral reached the war room and stood very still. He was old. He had won many battles. He had beaten 5 other species. He had medals from one end of the empire to the other. But when he looked at the screen, he did not speak for a long time. The thin line had become a cluster. The cluster had become a formation. It was clean. It was tight. It was perfect. It was a human fleet. He told the room to be calm. He told the room to follow the book. He ordered the picket ships to test the intruders. The picket ships moved out like little knives in the dark. They sent warnings. They sent questions. They sent threats. The human fleet did not answer. It did not turn. It did not speed up. It just kept coming, like a black tide that knew exactly where it wanted to go. The Empire's ships had bright hulls and proud marks. They liked to show color. The human ships were the opposite. They were dull, like stone. They swallowed light. Their running lamps were small and cold, like eyes that did not blink. Their formation was a living thing. It flowed. It breathed. When one ship shifted, 10 others shifted with it, as if a single mind guided them all. The first picket frigate fired a warning shot across the human path. Nothing happened. The second picket frigate lit up its shields and charged. For a moment, the crew in the war room held their breath and hoped for their old answer. Blast them, push them, make them yield. The human fleet did not fire. The charging frigate simply faded from the screen, like a candle under a glass. No explosion, no flare. One moment it was there, the next moment it was gone. The war room went quiet. Someone dropped a pen. It sounded like a gunshot. Electronic warfare, one tech whispered. Maybe a jump misfire. Another tech shook her head. No debris, no heat. They did something clean. The admiral said nothing. He had seen messy deaths. He had seen ships break and burn. He had never seen a ship disappear like a breath on cold air. He told the room to lock down the sector. He told them to call the nearby fleets. He told them to wake the Emperor. The message traffic began to hum and then roar. Requests, orders, conflicting plans. Some said to pull back and form a wall. Some said to throw everything forward and crush. The humans at the edge. The admirals on the other lines argued in coded words. Pride fought with fear. Pride was loud. Fear was patient. On the outer screen, the human fleet slowed. It formed a wider arc, like a hand around a candle. Drone swarms lifted from their carriers and spread like silver dust. The alien station tried to read the drones, but the signals folded into each other and vanished. The station tried to paint targets, but the paints came back smeared like wet ink in rain. The station tried to count ships and could not agree with itself. Was it 40, 50, more? Every pass gave a new number. The fleet was there, but it was also larger than the math said it should be. The Admiral asked for voices from the human side. There were none. He asked for ident codes. None. He asked for a diplomatic channel. A small light blinked. Text appeared. It was simple. It was short. It said, "Do not target Earth again." Someone laughed, a thin and broken laugh. "Is that a joke?" he said. No one answered. The Admiral read the words twice. They were not long. They were not cruel. They were just heavy. He imagined a hand placing a stone on the table, not a threat, a weight. He ordered a calm reply. He said that the Empire did not target civilians. He said that the Empire desired peace. He said that the Empire would open talks. He ended with a line about honor. He liked that word. It had always worked before. The human text light blinked again. The new message said, "Understood." Nothing more. The human fleet then began to cut the space around the station. They did not fire. They did not touch the station with a single beam. But one by one, the station's long eyes went blind. The outer satellites died like old stars. The sensor buoys went quiet. The jump beacons flickered and fell dark. The maps on the wall turned from bright to grey. It felt like a storm cloud rolling over a city. The city was still there. The streets were still there. But the sun was gone, and every sound felt far away. In the barracks, soldiers checked their rifles with shaking hands. In the hangars, pilots sat in cockpits and stared at cold dashboards. On the lower decks, cooks whispered prayers as they stirred thin soup. In the infirmary, a nurse wiped a table again and again, though it was already clean. The station was full of people, and yet it felt empty. Fear can make a place hollow. The Admiral walked the main corridor alone. He touched the wall as he walked, like the ship was a living thing that could feel his hand. He remembered a story from his youth about a hunter who chased a quiet animal into a dark wood and never came out. He had thought it was a lesson about bravery. He now wondered if it was a lesson about silence. He returned to the war room and found a new image on the screen. It was a zoom on the lead human battleship. Its hull had no name painted on it. Its edges were clean. Its guns were closed. A small badge glowed on its side. A simple shape. A blue circle with a white curve and a little dot. Earth, a home world he had never seen. A place he had once called weak. A place he now knew he did not understand. A junior officer came to him with a report. The outer patrols had tried to flank the humans. The patrols had not returned. No wreckage again. No heat. Just empty places. Where ships used to be. The officer's hands shook. The Admiral put a hand on his shoulder. "Stand steady," he said. The words felt thin. On the horizon of the screen, new ripples appeared. They were small at first, like fish just under the water's skin. The text tried to label them and failed. The Admiral felt the room hold one long, shared breath. If the First Fleet was a shadow, then what were these? Echoes, reflections, or something worse? The human text light blinked a third time. "This is your warning," it said. "Stand down." The Admiral closed his eyes for a heartbeat. He had spent his life telling others to stand down. He had used that voice, that still tone, that hard edge. To hear it now from someone else felt like tasting iron. He opened his eyes and looked at the map. The empire was large. The empire was proud. But pride did not move the shadow on the screen. The shadow moved on its own. Slow, certain, patient. It was not here to shout or boast. It was here to end a question the empire had asked without thinking. He straightened his coat. He gave the order to hold fire. He gave the order to protect civilians. He told his officers to prepare for talks. His voice did not tremble. His hands did not, either. Inside, a small stone turned. It was the size of a simple word. Fear. Outside. The human fleet kept coming, and out beyond it, the ripples grew. Asterisk, the summons came faster than the alarms. Across the Empire's inner worlds, high-ranking officers and ministers abandoned their dinners, their beds, and their games of strategy. To answer a single urgent call, the Emperor demanded their presence. Some came in gleaming uniforms, others in night robes, hastily covered with coats, but all carried the same question in their eyes: is it true? In the Grand Council chamber, the air was thick with the smell of fear masked as formality. The walls shimmered with projected maps of the Empire's territories, and one section glowed a dangerous red, the sector now crawling with human warships. Every few seconds, new data rippled across the projections, sensor ghosts, sudden silences from military outposts, and the chilling confirmation that the first alien fleet sent to intercept had simply vanished. The Emperor entered. Without ceremony, he was tall and thin, his crown forged from the spoils of ancient victories. He had ruled with a blend of pride and cold logic, but tonight the pride seemed heavier than the logic. His voice was calm, but the room could feel the edge under it. Report. He commanded the sector commander, Admiral Verin, stepped forward. His face was lined with years of war, but his tone was careful. Your Majesty, the fleet we faced. It moves with precision I have never seen. Their ships do not broadcast. Their weapons are hidden until the moment they strike. We cannot read their formations because they are constantly changing us, if they anticipate our scans before we even make them. Murmurs filled the chamber. One minister scoffed. This is one fleet, Verin. One, the Empire has crushed larger forces. Verin's gaze shifted. So did they. The words spread like a ripple in water. Every leader in the chamber felt the weight of what he implied. The humans had already faced larger enemies and won. The Minister of Defense leaned forward, tapping his clawed fingers on the table. You are certain it is only one fleet? Verin hesitated. Certain, until today. Our deep space monitors picked up distortion, waves multiple. If the readings are accurate, they are not alone. And if those ships are anything like the ones we've already seen. He trailed off, leaving the thought to fester in the minds of the council. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You speak as though we should fear them. I speak, Verin replied, as though we should understand them before we face them. These humans, they fight like they have nothing to lose. Across the chamber, a young intelligence officer spoke up. She had been silent until now, standing in the shadow of her superiors. Your Majesty, there is more. She touched a control panel, and a large image appeared in the air. It was the lead human battleship, magnified so clearly that every plate of armor was visible. The room was quiet until she pointed to a symbol, painted near the bow, a blue circle with a white curve and a dot. We believe this is the mark of Earth, she explained, their homeworld. This is not an Empire fleet. This is not even a coalition. It is one world, sending its soldiers into our space. The statement cracked something in the room. Leaders who had dismissed the humans as upstarts now leaned forward, their faces tightening. They had measured the humans as a species divided among nations and cultures. If one world alone could field such ships. The Emperor's tone sharpened. So what would you have me do, Admiral? Kneel before them. Varen met his gaze without flinching. I would have you see them clearly before you choose the wrong war. It was then that the first voice of panic broke from the chamber doors. An aide rushed in, breathless, clutching a fresh report. Your Majesty, hyperspace gates along the northern border have just lit up mass entries. We count 10-No-11 large human fleets emerging. The maps shifted again. The red zone spread like spilled ink. The chamber fell silent. The only sound, the faint hum of the display. The Emperor's pride rose like a shield. Then we will meet them with everything we have. But Varen did not look away from the map. He knew the truth in his bones. If the first human fleet was a shadow, this was the storm that followed. Asterisk, it began with a flicker on the edge of the scanners. Not the solid, clean lines of the first human fleet. This was something stranger, like ripples in glass. The alien war rooms stared at the readings, unsure if they were looking at a glitch or a warning. Then the ripples deepened, turned black, and split open into gaping circles of light. Hyperspace breaches, many. The first human fleet stayed perfectly still, as if waiting for something. Then, one by one, colossal ships emerged from the shimmering holes in space. Some were the size of cities, bristling with weapon arrays that glowed faintly, like predators flexing claws. Others were sleek, dagger-shaped, built for speed. They appeared in silence. And the silence was somehow worse than any roar of engines. The alien commander in the war room whispered, "How many?" A junior officer's voice cracked. 10 fleets, sir, at least, each equal to the one already. Here, the room froze. 10 fleets. 10 shadows as deadly as the first. They fanned out slowly, like the jaws of a trap closing around the alien sector. The skies above alien space began to glitter with the faint, distant light of their hulls, stretching further than the eye could follow. And then came the message. It was not a demand. It was not a threat. It was a voice, steady, controlled, that spoke in the Empire's language without a single mistake. You feared one fleet. Now you will face the Armada. The words seemed to echo not just through the comms, but in the minds of everyone listening. Across alien space, soldiers lowered their weapons for just a moment, their hands heavy. Civilians looked up from their streets and markets to see strange shapes blotting out their suns. The message carried farther than it should have, reaching stations, outposts, even hidden listening posts that thought they were safe. In the council chamber, ministers argued over the comms. Some demanded they opened fire before the humans fully surrounded them. Others screamed for an immediate surrender. The Emperor sat in his high seat, gripping the arms of his throne so tightly the metal creaked. Meanwhile, Admiral Varen simply watched. His eyes moved from one massive ship to the next, studying the way they formed their lines, the way they adjusted their angles. This was not chaos. This was orchestration. The humans were not here to fight the Empire. They were here to end the war before it could even begin. Suddenly, a line of smaller human ships broke from the main formation. They glided forward in eerie unison, each releasing swarms of drones that spread out like living constellations. Every alien sensor tried to track them and failed. Systems overloaded. Screens went white. The war room fell into a blur of alarms and static. One officer shouted, "They've blinded our defense net." Another replied, We can't target them. The coordinates keep shifting." Varen spoke, his voice low but clear. "This is no fleet action. This is a display." The Emperor turned sharply. A display of what? The Admiral's eyes stayed fixed on the endless, cold precision outside. Of power, of certainty. "They are showing us what they could do, so we will understand what comes next." On the horizon of the starfield, the hyperspace breaches closed. The Armada was now fully here. No more ripples, no more distortion. Just steel and silence, a wall of Earth's wrath stretching across the void. The First Fleet moved forward at last, their lead battleship pushing past the alien border markers, and every other fleet moved with them, each sliding into perfect alignment like pieces of a single machine. There was no rush, no stumble, no wasted motion topped to the alien commanders. It was the most terrifying thing of all. Because only one kind of enemy moves like that. One that already knows they've won. Asterisk, the order came without fanfare. No drumbeat of alarms. No rallying speeches. Just one word, spoken over a private human channel. Advance. The Armada moved. From the alien command screens, it was like watching a storm sweep across the void. The first human fleet surged forward, their hulls absorbing light until they were nothing but shadows against the stars. In their wake, fighter wings erupted from the carriers, hundreds, then thousands, darting between the massive warships. Like sparks in a forge, alien defenses scrambled. Orbital platforms activated railguns and missile banks, targeting the nearest human destroyers. The first volley lit up space with brilliant flashes, and hit nothing. The human ships slid aside with perfect timing, their movements so smooth it was as if they knew the trajectory before the weapons had even fired. Then the humans struck back. It wasn't a single overwhelming blast. It was surgical, a destroyer. Broke formation for only a second, released a pulse of white light, and returned to position. The nearest alien cruiser, a warship that had survived 3 decades of combat, simply folded in on itself, vanishing into a sphere of silent heat before drifting apart into molten fragments. The alien cruise froze. There was no debris cloud, no screaming metal, just sudden emptiness where their comrades had been, on the planet below. Civilians saw the streaks of fire in their sky and screamed. Whole cities went dark as power grids failed under the pressure of orbital interference. Military command relays fell silent. The Empire's proud communications web, which had taken centuries to build, unraveled in less than 5 minutes. Admiral Varen stood at the center of the chaos, watching the battle map collapse into patches of static and gray. He knew the humans were not fighting at full strength. He could feel it. Every shot they took, every ship they destroyed, was chosen with care. They weren't trying to annihilate the Empire's forces. They were dismantling them in the Council chamber. The Emperor shouted for the planetary shield to be raised. But the shield command towers were already gone, sliced apart by pinpoint strikes from human snipers in orbit. Even as the order left his lips, the humans were removing the possibility. And then came the moment the aliens would remember for generations. The lead human, battleship, the same silent giant that had first appeared in their space, descended toward the planet's upper atmosphere. Its hull glowed faintly from the heat, its shadow stretching across entire continents. A deep, Steady vibration rolled through the air, like the growl of something ancient and unstoppable. A wideband transmission cut through every channel, every device, every speaker in the Empire's core world. The voice was the same one they had heard before, calm, steady, and terrifying because it did not shout, "Stand down, or you will not stand at all." From orbit, the rest of the human armada shifted into full attack stance. Gun batteries rotated as one. Fighters fell into diamond formations. Missile bays opened, their payloads gleaming like stars caught in steel. The alien fleets tried one last desperate move, a countercharge. Hundreds of ships surged forward, hoping to punch through a gap in the human lines. But the humans had no gaps. The formation flexed like muscle and closed around them. Within minutes, half the alien ships were dead in space, the other half fleeing. Varen watched the final counterattack fail. The precision was so absolute that he felt no shame, only grim respect. He turned to the Emperor. "If we do not surrender now," he said quietly, "there will be no Empire left to save." The Emperor did not reply. His eyes were fixed on the endless black shapes above, and for the first time in his reign, his hands shook. It ended faster than anyone believed possible. One moment, the skies were alive with fire and shadow. The next, they were empty. The human armada holding position in absolute stillness, like hunters who had already claimed their prey. The alien fleet was gone. Some had fled into deep space, others were drifting in ruin, and too many had simply vanished without trace. The alien Emperor sat slumped in his high seat, eyes fixed on the giant projection before him. It showed the human battleship, the same one that had led the first attack, hovering above the capital world. It did not fire, it did not move. It simply watched. Admiral Varen stood at his side, silent. His face was pale, but his voice was steady when he spoke. "Your Majesty, they are waiting for our answer." The Emperor did not look at him. "What answer do you expect me to give?" "The only one that keeps our people alive," Varen replied. The chamber was quiet. Outside, through the tall glass of the council tower, the alien capital saw its own reflection in the curved hull of the human ship. A fragile world staring at the steel face of something it could never defeat. Then the voice came again, carried on every frequency, speaking in the calm tone that had haunted the Empire for days. "We have shown you enough. We will not destroy you today, but hear this. If you raise a weapon toward Earth again, we will return, and there will be nothing left to save." There was no roar, no threat layered with anger, just the weight of certainty. The Emperor finally gave the order, "Stand down, transmit our surrender." Varen nodded and signaled the message. It traveled through the remnants of their communications net, crossing battle-scarred orbit and reaching the human flagship. For a long moment, there was nothing in reply. Then the Armada began to move. Slowly, silently, the massive fleets turned away from the alien homeworld. Hyperspace gates shimmered open, swallowing them one by one until only the first fleet remained. The shadow that had begun it all. It lingered for a moment longer, its dark hull reflecting the light of the alien sun. And then it, too, was gone. The sky was empty. The war was over. But the silence that followed was not peace. It was the silence of an empire that now knew its place. The streets of the capital were filled with whispers of the humans, of the ships that could erase fleets without firing a shot, of the calm voice that spoke with the authority of 1,000 victories. Admiral Varen stood at the council tower's balcony, staring into the void where the Armada had disappeared. He knew the humans could have taken their worlds, their resources, their very history. Instead, they had taken something far more lasting. They had taken away the Empire's belief that it was untouchable. From that day forward, every commander in the alien navy would remember the truth. One human fleet had been enough to terrify them. An armada had broken them forever.